Conspiracy TikToks, compilation that will blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
In 1939, British engineers tried to lift a single pyramid stone, and it crushed their crane. They thought it would be simple, steel against ancient stone, but they couldn't move a 15-ton block. The same weight that modern tools failed to lift was moved by hand 4,000 years ago. But when they inspected the real pyramid blocks, there were no marks. No wheels, no hooks, not even a single scratch. That single clue changed everything. They realized the builders never lifted the stones. They slid them, using wooden sleds and wet sand that cut friction in half. It wasn't brute strength or machines. It was math, timing, and precision. The more science tried to explain it, the more impossible it seemed. Did the ancient builders know something we've already forgotten?
Okay, where did they get so much wood in the desert back then?
Oh, this is a question. Why does he have a watch on? Isn't that a watch?
How dare you? Impossible. Stop.
What is that?
It's jewelry.
It looks like a watch. I mean, maybe it's jewelry, but it's on his wrist, and it's a circle, and it's with a band.
Right.
I mean, what is that?
Mini Antikythera mechanism.
It looks like my watch.
It does.
It does.
That's crazy.
But, of course, the explanation is like, of course not. Just jewelry. But it does look like it, doesn't it?
Well, it just makes sense that if they developed weapons and they developed clothing and they developed shelters, if they had the sophistication to be able to construct these buildings, why wouldn't they be able to construct a watch?
Right.
An automatic watch.
Could it be a bracelet?
Did you know that in 1982, the Vatican Bank was caught laundering $800 million in cocaine money? For centuries, the Vatican stood as the world's moral authority, but behind closed doors, a shocking operation was unfolding. Archbishop Paul Marcinkus had turned the holy institution into a criminal empire. He used diplomatic pouches to smuggle cash across borders without inspection, created fake accounts under saint names, and disguised drug money as religious donations. Mafia bosses made fake pilgrimages to personally deliver millions in cocaine proceeds directly to Vatican City. Italian investigators discovered that Vatican accounts contained more drug money than actual charity funds. When journalist Roberto Calvi threatened to expose everything, he was found hanging from London's Blackfriars Bridge. His pockets were stuffed with bricks and $15,000 in cash. The Mafia had silenced him permanently. Meanwhile, Marcinkus fled to Vatican City, hiding behind diplomatic immunity. The world's holiest place had become the epicenter of organized crime's financial network. Sacred walls protected the dirtiest money on earth.
This is why Godfather Part 3 is one of the most accurate movies, of the trio.
What's your thought process on dinosaurs?
If you read the Bible, it says the people lived to be 900 years old before the flood came. Go to Genesis chapter 5. Reptiles never stopped growing. What would happen if a lizard could live to be 900? He'd be really big. Dinosaurs were big lizards that lived with Adam and Eve. Noah took them on the ark.
That was thousands of years ago, so why wouldn't lizards turn into dinosaurs again?
After the flood, something changed. Notice the lifespans dropped off to 400, then 200, then 100. Today, hardly anybody makes it to 100. Noah had dinosaurs on the ark, probably babies. They eat less, they poop less, they sleep a lot more, and after the flood, they'd live longer to produce more offspring. After the flood, many died off in the new climate. The biggest problem they had was hunting. People were hunting them, calling them dragons, and they killed many off, but some are still alive. There have been 11,000 people that claim they've seen the Loch Ness Monster, for example. They all claim it's a plesiosaurus, a long neck, 4 flippers dinosaur swimming in the water.
I think they changed the name from dragon to dinosaur for a reason, For centuries, many people recorded the existence of dragons.
I have met people who claimed to be Satanists, who claimed to be involved with black magic, who claimed that they not only knew a lot about it, but as I said, I've certainly haven't been involved, and I warn all of you, never. You will not only lose your mind, you'll lose your soul.
When Saruman the White himself says, don't go the evil way, you listen.
This is why they teach you to write with your right hand, because they taught us this to activate the left hemisphere more because of this crossover that happens in the body. So when we are using this right side more, we are using that left hemisphere. They also called it writing. Writing is a spell, to cast a spell on you to use that right side of the body so that you use this left hemisphere, because they want you to see the world as a divided perception. They don't want you using the right hemisphere, using that left side of the body to activate the right hemisphere to see the bigger picture and see how everything is all one and everything is created. This left hemisphere keeps you from seeing the connections between everything, because that left hemisphere analyzes, it breaks things down. So when we are left hemisphere dominated by using the right side of the body, we are essentially seeing everything as divided. And this is why so many people will not understand my work.
Ever seen when India landed on the moon?
It's just a probe, right?
It's not even a probe. It's like an Atari graphic.
All right, let's see it. No, I can't.
Yeah, that's what they're landing.
I want to see what happens when it actually touches down. Wait a minute. That's it? Oh, that's so fake.
Come on, Joe.
In 1990, Iraq invaded Kuwait, right? We put together one of the greatest, albeit temporary, military alliances, since the Second World War. We went to the Palestinians and said, you better be on the right side of this thing, right? We also said the same thing. At the time, the United Nations Security Council happened to include Cuba and Yemen as two of the states. So we weren't sure what they were going to do, which way they were going to vote. It didn't matter because they didn't have veto power anyway, but we wanted as united an international front as we could come up with. And we went to the Palestinians all the way to the top, to Yasser Arafat, and said, you better be on the right side of this. And they jumped in with Saddam Hussein. The thing is half the population of Kuwait was Palestinian.
The people who call themselves but are not, as Jesus said, they did not speak Hebrew. They spoke Yiddish. They come from Eastern Europe primarily. They have no blood ties to the Holy Land. That is why they've outlawed DNA testing in Israel.
Yeah, I've looked up the DNA test. They basically have none.
It would prove that they have no claim or connection to this land. They actually come from Eastern Europe.
Katy Perry.
That makes sense.
Who was a singer, and her husband, I believe his name is Orlando Bloom, bought the Bragg's apple cider vinegar company, and they have teamed up with Bill Gates, and now are using his A-Pill apples. What A-Pill is, A-P-E-E-L. It uses monosaccharides and disaccharides, which are byproducts of all oil processing. The byproducts of, things like soybean oil, canola oil, which are very harmful to the body. And these byproducts are trans fats. This is really important. They're trans fats. Trans fats in most countries, all of Europe, are banned. And the reason why they're banned is because they cause coronary heart disease.
A bunch of crimes committed against humanity. BG needs to go to prison.
Let me ask you this. When's the last time you saw a new graveyard being built? Never. You've never seen it. You're right. You know why? What are they doing with these bodies? I know what they're doing. They're feeding them to us. No. We're eating them. That's why the McRib comes back at the end of every flu season. The McRib? Do I have your attention yet? Crazy. Also, too, guess why the government created Filipino people? So that Chinese people could say the N-word. That makes a lot of sense. Yup. In their regular life and during karaoke. Holy shit, dude. Scared yet? You should.
What? I don't get the Filipino-Chinese part. Please explain. Anyone?
The soldiers and police sent out to control them suddenly refused to shoot, and actually joined the protesters instead. Ceausescu immediately holds a crisis meeting with the remaining members of the Communist Party's Politburo in the Central Committee building. At the same time, hundreds of thousands of demonstrators now surround the Central Committee headquarters, and they're starting to break in. With protesters minutes away from reaching their offices, Ceausescu orders his pilot to bring a helicopter to the roof. Both Nikolai and Elena are visibly shaken and have to be carried aboard by their bodyguards. Their faces are completely drained of colour. Together with two senior officials and two bodyguards, they squeeze into the helicopter and take off minutes before the protesters reach the rooftop.
That is how it's done.
If you say this word and you're going into a bank,
Is it like a code word?
It is. It's a Semite word.
Yeah.
I'm dead serious. I'm not lying. You guys can look it up right now.
I want to see the real term sheet.
Heter, Heter, Heter Iska. Here we go. A person who gets a Heter Iska mortgage is a lot better off financially than a person paying scads of interest to conventional mortgages. Get a free mortgage loan application today for your Heter Iska loan.
Let me see this.
You can do the math, the paper napkin math of how much money you've paid on loans to make your business successful. And there is a reality in which if you were a certain type of people group, you would have paid nothing on those loans.
Go in, get denied, sue them for discrimination.
Isn't it crazy that only about 500 years ago, the largest eagles of all time were hunting humans in New Zealand?
Ooh.
Humans only made it to New Zealand in the 1200s, and for millions of years prior, the island was ruled by giant birds. The most famous of which being the giant moa, which stood up to 12 feet tall and weighed up to 500 pounds. But even these massive birds weren't safe from the giant eagles that hunted them. These eagles are twice the size of the largest modern-day eagles, and the fact that they hunted giant moa shows just how deadly they were. Moa could weigh up to 15 times more than the eagle itself, yet their size couldn't save them. Diving at prey, the impact of an eagle would have had as much energy as a rifle bullet. Of course, it would impact more like a sledgehammer with talons. And the Maori have not forgotten about this beast. Maori legends speak of the puakai, a monstrous bird that snatched people from the earth. With its massive talons and twice the size of the largest modern eagles, scientists think it could be true. I mean, if they could kill a 500-pound moa, what do you think they do to a human? Learn more, check out my new video where I talk about, eagles preying on humans in prehistory. It's super fascinating, like the famous Tong child. So look up Northo 2 and go find the video.
I love his video. If you remember, Lord of the Rings film in New Zealand where there was giant eagles.
Over 3,000 British travellers just got banned from entering Europe, stranded right now at UK airports. Not because of terrorism, not because of a pandemic, but because of a digital border system hardly anyone even knew existed. It's 5 a.m. at Heathrow. Sarah Mitchell, a teacher from Kent, is heading to her sister's wedding in Finland, passport valid. Tickets ready, but when she scans her boarding pass, the screen flashes red, entry data missing, flight cancelled, no explanation. Across London, Manchester and Edinburgh, the same chaos. Families crying, business trips ruined, weddings missed. So, what's really happening? It's something called the EES, the EU's new entry-exit system. Every non-EU traveller, including Brits, now has to pre-register their fingerprints and facial scans in an EU database before flying. The problem? No one told British travellers. Airlines weren't trained. Finland enforced it overnight, and thousands of people are paying the price. Videos of stranded passengers are flooding TikTok. The hashtag number travel crisis is exploding. Some politicians are calling it another case of Brussels control, while the government insists it's an EU issue. But the public isn't buying it, because this isn't just a tech glitch, it's about sovereignty, freedom, and broken promises. And here's the worst part, this same system will roll out across the entire EU next year. Spain, France, Greece, all of them. If this chaos happens again, millions of Brits could be grounded next summer. So the question is this what taking back control really looks like? Or has Britain just lost it all over again?
Meanwhile, thousands of migrants are entering EU.
We are taught that architecture evolves slowly over time. But after the 1800s,
without any problems,
something strange happened. The entire world changed its building style almost overnight. For centuries, cities were filled with copper domes, towering spires, star-shaped foundations, and elaborate stone facades that looked less like decoration and more like advanced engineering. Then, suddenly, by the early 1900s, they were gone. The domes disappeared. The spires were flattened. The ornate stonework vanished. And the buildings that once looked like energy devices were replaced with simple brick rectangles and steel boxes. Why? We are told it was fashion or cost-saving. But that explanation collapses the moment you look closer. Many of these old-world structures were built with materials and techniques far more expensive and far more complex than anything used today. Copper roofs, limestone blocks, perfect symmetry, mathematical precision. Yet the people who supposedly built them left almost no records of how they were designed or constructed. And here is where the mystery deepens. These buildings resemble components of an electrical system, domes shaped like capacitors. spires shaped like antennas, star forts shaped like grounding grids, all of them appearing worldwide long before electricity was invented. Then, right as modern power companies emerged, the architecture changed. The domes were covered or removed, the copper was stripped away, the towers were demolished, and the buildings that once looked like receivers and transmitters stopped being built entirely. It is almost as if the world abandoned a technology it no longer understood or was no longer allowed to use. So what happened in the late 1800s? Why did the old world stop building structures that look like electrical devices? And why did the new architecture erase the shapes and materials that could have harnessed atmospheric energy? Because if the old world truly had a different power system, then the sudden shift in architecture might not have been an evolution. It might have been a replacement, a reset of how the world was meant to be powered.
We're going the exact way they want us to go. We successfully gotten dumber by the generation.
From 1948 to 1973, for 25 years, the U.S. economy was so amazing that you could conceivably get a job. I mean, a regular job. I don't mean an amazing job. Just a job. And the pay would be so high and the benefits so amazing that you could not only afford to buy a house and feed your family, you might be able to send your kids to school and you might be able to retire really well. That was the only time, in fact, in human history where a person could work and make wealth. Because if you look at the middle class today in the United States, they don't make wealth. They barely get by. But for 25 years, people were prospering. If people aren't fretting about food, if they're not worried about shelter, if they're not in constant fear that the economic situation they're in will collapse, they have mind space to start to ask bigger and better questions. Wait a minute, what about civil liberties? What about civil rights? What about human rights? And the next thing you know, by 1954, 6 years into this explosive economy, we're in the middle of a revolution.
They seized $86 million in cash and a fortune in precious belongings from more than 1,000 customers, including Jenny.
The whole reason that we put this money, that we put these coins and this cash in the safe deposit box in the first place is because we were afraid it might be stolen. So the idea that then the FBI comes along and steals it from this box is staggering. It boggles my mind.
She says it took 7 months for the FBI to return her silver, but they never gave back the cash.
What?
Literally, they just rooted through, took everything, and tried to keep it.
A court ruled the FBI violated customers' constitutional rights by searching their boxes. The agency did not respond to our request for comment.
The law don't follow the law.
On March 19, 1922, Lenin sends the following directive to the Politburo. We must pursue the removal of church property. We must smash the clergy most decisively and ruthlessly, and put down all resistance with such brutality that they will not forget it for several decades.
И членами его являлись примерно 80-85% евреев.
Here's another dirty little secret that they didn't tell you. In Iran, there's two political parties. There's the Reformists and then the Conservatives. The Reformists are our equivalent of Democrats. The Conservatives obviously are like the Republicans. For years, there's always been a rift in the government where one side says, the Reformists, we need to go ahead and have diplomacy with the West. We need to lift these sanctions. But the Conservatives say, no, the West can't be trusted. When we allowed Israel to attack them in the middle of negotiations, they got hit on like a Thursday or a Friday. We're supposed to meet with them on Sunday. What we basically did was finally the Reformists and the Conservatives said, we need to go on the offensive. It was so bad that the Iranian people came out and started protesting, saying the government needs to hit Israel back. So all the people that were critical of the government now got behind the government. Now they're absolutely going to enrich uranium to get a nuclear bomb because they know it's the only way that they're going to keep Israel and the United States from attacking them. All this aggression without getting rid of the regime was a big L.
You guys know that in Islam there is this figure who sits somewhere between history, folklore, and the kind of mystery that refuses to die out, and his name is Al-Khidr. The story goes like this. Moses is told that someone exists who carries a different kind of understanding. So, he travels with a young companion to find him. The sign is strange. When a fish escapes and disappears into the water, that's where the meeting point is. Water is treated like a boundary, and that's why exactly where Al-Khidr appears. Moses asks to follow him, to learn from him. Al-Khidr warns him that he won't be able to stay patient because what he's about to witness won't make sense on the surface. Moses insists, so they begin. The first incident, Al-Khidr damages a boat belonging to poor fishermen. Moses reacts immediately, asking why he would sabotage people who need it. Al-Khidr tells him to hold his questions until the end. Next, Al-Khidr encounters a young man and ends his life. Moses is horrified. The story doesn't slow down or sugarcoat it. It's meant to be uncomfortable. Then they find a town where no one helps them. Yet Al-Khidr repairs a wall for free, refusing any reward. Moses interrupts again, confused and frustrated. At that point, Al-Khidr explains the reason. The boat he damaged was about to be seized by a king who stole every good vessel he saw. By making it imperfect, he saved the fisherman's livelihood. The young man, according to the story, would have grown into a destructive force to his family, and his removal would allow something better to unfold. And the broken wall he repaired? There was treasure buried beneath it that belonged to 2 orphans. Fixing the wall protected it until they were old enough to claim it. And Al-Khidr leaves. No dramatic goodbyes, no teaching. He appears, rewrites the logic of the world for a few minutes, and disappears again.
It sounds like a folklore to me. There's no Al-Khidr in the Bible.
Did you know that within Hitler's inner circle, 2 of his most powerful men secretly despised each other? These were Hermann Goering, the flamboyant war hero draped in medals and silk uniforms, and Joseph Goebbels, the sharp-tongued propagandist who worshipped discipline and sacrifice. To Goebbels, Goering was everything wrong with the Reich. Corrupt, decadent, a man drunk on luxury while the nation bled. In his diary, he mocked Goering as a clown with a marshal's baton. But Goering didn't stay silent. He called Goebbels that poisonous little man, a schemer who lived off flattery and lies. He saw him not as a minister, but as a parasite feeding on Hitler's attention. Behind closed doors, their rivalry simmered. Each strove to be closer to Hitler, and each despised the other's influence. And in the final days of the Reich, when Goebbels helped convince Hitler to strip Goering of power, the hatred reached its endgame.
What do you think about the Epstein stuff?
I do not trust none of the media. I always do my own investigation. Every single story has 2 sides, like a coin. On one side, it could be a setup. It's always a setup when a powerful, wealthy man trying to get more power or more money and somebody else doesn't want him to do, and that's why the competitor would set him up. And we see this all the time. In the spy world, it calls compromise, compromising someone in order for him or for this target to lose the power. I wasn't there. If I would be one of these girls, I would tell you, yes, I was one of the victims, and that's what happened. On another hand, because there's so many victims, we can say yes. But again, every single person in this world should have his own opinion. So make your own opinion, have your own research, do your own investigation.
It's a good way to be.
Why are so many CIA and spies doing podcasts? Seems a little fishy to me.
Did you know Pablo Escobar owned more aircraft than most national airlines? When DEA agents finally pieced it together in the 1980s, they discovered he controlled over 240 planes and helicopters. But this wasn't just about buying aircraft. Escobar purchased entire legitimate charter companies as cover. He bribed government officials to secure diplomatic immunity for his flights. Custom airstrips were built across 7 countries, with pilots trained at real flight schools. They even used weather modification technology to create cloud cover during smuggling runs. Former military pilots from various conflicts flew his routes. The shocking reality: 15 tons of cocaine moved daily through backup routes in every major shipping channel. Dismantling this network required cooperation from 12 countries and changed international drug enforcement forever.
In the 1970s, Tom Ogle accidentally discovered a way to make an engine run on its own fumes.
I was messing around with a lawnmower when I accidentally knocked a hole in its fuel tank. I put a vacuum line running from the tank straight into the carburetor inlet. I just let it run, and it kept running and running, but the fuel level stayed the same. I got excited. The lawnmower was running without a carburetor and was getting tremendous efficiency.
That mower ran for 96 straight hours. Whoa! After a few months of trial and error, Ogle replicated his invention with his own car. His 1970 Ford Galaxy got 11 miles per gallon. But after a few modifications, it got 100 miles per gallon. Ooh. In April 1977, Ogle drove the 4,000-pound car 205 miles on just 2 gallons of gas. Engineers inspected the car for hidden gas tanks and other gimmicks, but nothing was found. His technology worked.
Okay, when did the three letters agency take him out?
You know, we call them aliens, and they call us the same, because we are the 5th civilization on our Earth.
Do you think there's extraterrestrials out there, Al, as well?
What?
Do you think there's aliens?
You know, I've been asked that question hundreds of times. Do you believe in aliens? And I say, yeah. Have you ever seen one? I say, yeah, I have. Well, how have you seen them? Well, I said, I look in the mirror every morning. Because that's what we are.
They looked at me and said, we kind of created you here. Gave you a beautiful land, rivers, lakes, seas, and you pollute it with industrial waste, burn, cut down these forests.
What you see is demon.
There is actually no way. You have to stop with this now. Swear. We've heard about, aliens building the pyramids or, some kind of extraterrestrial life form. Dinosaurs, really? I'm not shitting you right now. There are genuinely people that genuinely believe that dinosaurs actually built the pyramids single-handedly. This is just one of the most crazy theories I've ever heard. I don't even know what to say. Now, the reason people believe this is because reportedly there has been large claw marks found on structures nearby to the pyramids, which, yes, could indicate dinosaurs because maybe they did live there billions of years ago. But no, there's a lot of people that actually believe that the dinosaurs were there picking up the massive slabs of rock and just going around building it. Like, what, were they possessed by the Anunnaki to build a structure? I don't think so, mate. We know that the pyramids don't add up. Like, the way that they were built is absolutely insane, and there is something very strange about it. I think dinosaurs is just beyond a stretch. Beyond a fucking stretch. I'm going to give this one a 2 out of 10 on the believability scale, because this just didn't happen, mate, did it?
Well, they do have a point. Fred Flintstone used to work in the gravel pit, and he sat on his dinosaur.
Do they talk about how it happens?
How does one get possessed? Playing with demonic things, Ouija boards, going to a psychic, tarot cards, or actual occult worship of the devil. Those are pretty much immediate open doors that you're going to have demons come right in.
Psychics are demonic.
They're not channeling your dead relatives. When somebody says, well, the psychic told me my mother shared this with me when I was 10, and nobody ever knew that but us. So it has to be my mom, except for the demons in the room, who also heard it. And now they're impersonating your mother. If your mother's in heaven, she's having a good day. She doesn't want to come back and visit you. If she's in purgatory, she needs our prayers to get her moved into heaven. And if she's in hell, there's no getting out. It's not your mother.
You cannot pray someone into heaven. We have to handle that personally with Jesus.
China, Israel, Ukraine, and us now. We didn't used to be as big a part, I think. But anyway, it's like you harvest the organs, and then you got to get rid of the rest. And that's what I think they are doing. It really just says Soylent Green in a different form. And anybody thinks this is just made up. We have videos, for example, in Ukraine of they call them the Chorny Transplantologia. I can barely say that. I don't speak Russian. I just read it. But anyway, it's the black transplantologists. And they stumbled onto these things. I know Putin knows about this. The Russian army knows about this. They've underground harvesting areas. So young Ukrainian soldier is not quite dead yet, but they don't think he's going to survive. Boom. 2 kidneys, 2 lungs, a heart, a liver, and the rest goes into the food supply. That part I can't prove, but I'm going to tell you I can prove about the kidneys and stuff like that. So you've got, he's worth almost $1 million, by the time, and you sell it, you're going to get more than $1 million for that, because that price gets way bumped up. He's getting nothing, but in this case, but if you yourself want to sell your kidney to the black market, you sell it, and then they mark it up 10 times. But it goes over these big hospitals in China. They were just there for that reason. So, and they were live harvesting the Uyghurs, the Christians, and
the Uyghurs. Okay, Ukraine and Russia has reported over 2.5 million dead. A lot of kidneys, folks.
So you go in there, you blindfolded, you have no shirt on, and then you hear them singing songs, demonic songs to different demons. They blow smoke on you, they blow liquor on you to prepare you. They usher you into this room. You feel the demonic in that room. And then they start singing this song, this particular song that ushers the devil in. And then about midnight, he walks in. You can feel him walking in. The atmosphere changed, the room changed, everything changed. You can know he's there.
And when you say he came, that's Satan.
That's Satan himself. He walks in. He comes in the room. 17 warlocks came to be initiated, to sell their souls. And all of them passed out because there's just so much blood. They came up to me. They cutted me here. You see my marks. They cut me in my back. They cut my tongue. They put the cross upside down. They cut me here, upside down cross. Here, upside down cross. They cut you in the back, upside down cross. They bring a human skull. In a human skull, you have to kiss it. The blood represents the contract. The human skull represents the initiation. And then they change your name. You're no longer John Ramirez. You've been called by this name. You say your name, the devil recognizes you. And then the devil said, he's the gatekeeper of my kingdom. After that initiation, anything that I wanted in the demonic world was completely mine. There was no restriction, no fine print. And what's crazy about it, that morning I got up, I looked at the mirrors. I didn't have no light in my eyes anymore. They were gone.
He has such a powerful testimony.
What's black magic then?
Black magic is a magic that's used to control and manipulate people.
And black magic is real?
Very much so.
Does that not come from the devil?
I wouldn't necessarily say that it comes from...
It's just pretty.
Define the devil. What do you see as the devil?
I don't know, just some, you know what I mean.
Have you heard the term gnosis?
No.
That the greatest trick the devil ever played was pretending to be God?
No.
It's an interesting concept to get into. The first time I saw that, I was, I kind of glitched. I was like, what does that actually mean? And then when you start to delineate how many things have gone on in this world in the name of God, it's really kind of an interesting thing, right?
Adolf Hitler didn't kill himself in a bunker in Berlin as the Red Army closed in. I think that's... We all know that was a fabricated story, or if you watch the show, you probably understand that. Hitler actually fled Germany weeks before that using a group of underground tunnels that led to an airstrip. And that airstrip was flown. He was flown from Berlin out. It took submarines, or multiple submarines that were used, U-boats that were then sent to Argentina. In other words, Hitler lived for nearly 2 decades more in Argentina, along with vast numbers of the Third Reich. Well, now Argentinian President Javier Milei has just ordered the release of all remaining documents on all of those Nazis who fled Germany and moved to Argentina after World War II. Basically, it was almost like a second base of operations in Argentina. If you're not familiar with that, basically the Third Reich operated out of Argentina and Germany. And many of them, including Adolf Hitler, lived in Argentina well after 1945. Most people know that Hitler lived out his days in Bariloche, Argentina, until he died there in the mid-1960s. Yes, you can read the CIA documents about this. The FBI documents also about sightings of Hitler in this area. They knew about it. Of course they knew about it. It was largely facilitated, I think it's safe to say, by the United States and its allies. Operation Paperclip, anybody? Quid pro quo?
Also, if you look into this, the skull that is held in Russia that was supposedly the remains of Adolf Hitler with a bullet wound in it is female.
Yeah.
So when you look for proof that Hitler did in fact kill himself in the bunker, you are going to find a lot of dead ends.
Yeah. And all you need to read, you can read a great book on this called The Gray Wolf. It's a great book. There's many books written about this now. But yeah, the skull, the fragments, they ran the DNA tests on it. And the Soviets allowed them to do this testing. And even Stalin openly talked about that Hitler lived, that he was not there. So Stalin even knew about it. It's widely known in Argentina, by the way, well known, that Hitler sired 2 children while he lived.
They still have German schools in Argentina, and the people love him there.
Trump's ballroom.
Dude, I've heard some conspiracies about this.
Yeah, and the kicker, Trump is not using taxpayer money.
Oh.
He has some donors.
Ooh.
You ready for these donors?
Yes.
Google, Apple, Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, Lockheed Martin, Palantir,
Typical.
T-Mobile.
One of these
Sponsored
things
by
is not
T-Mobile.
like the other. Yeah.
Here's where it gets weird. Now it's going to be over $300 million for this 90,000 square foot ballroom. $3,330 a square foot. Way outside the standard of what you pay per square foot for a building.
So what are they spending so much money on?
A theory is that they're building an underground database center.
Yeah, there you go.
A couple years ago, Israel built a underground data center. They paid $319 million for this.
That's got to be it.
So this ballroom is costing about the same as what this data center costs in Jerusalem.
But not nearly as big.
Well, that's just the surface.
Yeah.
Because they're just building a ballroom.
Yeah.
But what's going to be underneath?
And why are all these people interested in
And
investing in it?
They would all invest because they don't want to be excluded.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, bro.
In 2008, when everyone was telling me to get rid of my MySpace and to get a Facebook, I was right. I should have stuck with MySpace.
Who made MySpace?
Tom. The legend.
You don't know Tom?
MySpace.
Yeah, I remember that.
Tom.
I didn't have a MySpace.
No.
Do you know how young I am?
I know how old I am.
There was a French general named Gouraud. He went to Salahadin's tomb and he kicked it. And he said, "We're back, Salahadin." Europeans have gone all their way to say that the carving up of the Ottoman Empire wasn't a new crusade, when it is 100% that it was a new crusade. It was in their mind, to the point where a French general kicked Salahadin's tomb and said, "We're back." So it creates this duality, because in the hearts of the British, Richard the Lionheart never captured Jerusalem. They've done it. They've succeeded in doing what Richard the Lionheart couldn't do. And so in their mind, they fixed this error. Saladin had successfully stopped the English from capturing Jerusalem in the Crusades. And now all of a sudden they've done it. At the same time, Balfour then issues this declaration, hey, we're going to create a Jewish-only state. And so the British government initially is like, no. We finally got this prize. They didn't want to do it. And so they actually canceled Balfour. They were like, no, this is not on the table. We're not going to do it. The Zionism then becomes this violent event where the Zionists begin actually doing terrorism in Palestine, including attacking British military positions in the 1920s and 30s, attacking hotels. Once that starts to happen, the British now find themselves in this really weird situation where, on the one hand, they've got Zionist movement in England. On the other hand, this is their dream. They have Jerusalem finally. They fulfill the Crusader dream.
Okay.
He's not human. He's a jinn.
That dude's possessed. I didn't want to look at him because I thought he was like mental issues.
In Islam, that's a spirit made of fire. Some call them demons because they can transform into humans.
His head was like 180 degrees turning with me. And then he started...
I couldn't believe what happened next. Click the link in bio to find out.
Dude, you're just a local tweaker.
When people say you sell your soul, this is what I imagine everyone to picture. This is a spiritual adoption that Freemasons essentially get to bring these children in. Each Freemason is assigned their own child. They do this little ritual with them, and it's essentially they're married spiritually. A lot of times these children are foster children. I mean, if that doesn't sound like pedophilia, then I don't know what is. After 32nd degree, you have to have a life-changing event, they call it. So you have to drink blood out of an actual human skull when you go into the 33rd degree. Some people say that there's murder involved, rape. They have lots of little symbols that mock Jesus, that mock God. It's basically their way of practicing Satanism in a ritualistic sense. Freemasons will never say the word Jesus. It's always Grand Architect, Supreme Architect. That's crazy. There's a lot of judges that are Freemasons, and that's how you see Freemasons get out of jail free. They say these code words while they're on trial, and they get recognized by the judge who gives them a lesser sentence. If you notice, every Freemason lodge, for the most part, is always located next to a police station or a city courthouse building, and that's just strategic in my eyes.
Wow. Hey, by the way, Jesus Christ is our Savior.
It's bigger than any stone in Egypt, and no one knows who built it. Hidden deep in the Russian wilderness lies a single carved monolith, over 4,000 tons, perfectly cut, and older than recorded history. No tools, no quarry, no signs of how it got there.
Nice try. AI.
The Grim Reaper, also known as Solomon's Revenge, the Charleston slave who buried 9 masters alive. He was known as the Grim Reaper by the white people, and to us, this is revenge. Yes, his name was Solomon, and this is his story. Beneath the ancient oak trees of St. Michael's Cemetery in Charleston, South Carolina, lie 9 graves that the city's most prominent families refuse to discuss. Each headstone bears the name of a wealthy plantation owner who died between the years of 1851 and 1855, all under mysteriously similar circumstances. Sudden paralysis, followed by what physicians of the time called merciful death. But in 1923, when the cemetery underwent renovation, groundskeepers made a horrifying discovery that city officials immediately ordered sealed from public record. Inside each of these 9 coffins, the wooden lids bore deep scratch marks from fingernails, and the bodies lay in positions suggesting desperate struggles. Now, back then, there was no such thing as autopsy reports, so the guess of the murder was it was just foul play. Now, what the authorities found next would haunt Charleston's elite for generations. A leather journal buried beneath the cemetery's oldest magnolia trees, written in the careful handwriting of a man named Solomon Fairfax, detailing 4 years of calculated revenge that began with a family's screams and ended with 9 men buried alive. Now, before we continue, make sure you like, follow, and share.
We need documentaries on this, not just Diddy.
They thought they had found another forgotten ruin in the desert. But what they uncovered was the masterpiece of a mysterious pharaoh, one who wasn't even supposed to exist. In the late 19th century, archaeologists digging near Luxor found a massive structure buried beneath tons of sand and rock. When they cleared the debris, a breathtaking temple emerged, built directly into the cliffs of Deir el-Bahari. It stood nearly 30 meters high, stretched over 270 meters wide, and rose in 3 great terraces connected by long ramps lined with sphinxes. At first, scholars believed it belonged to Thutmose III, one of Egypt's greatest warrior kings. But soon they found shattered statues buried in the rubble. And on the stone fragments was a royal name that changed everything. Maatkare Hatshepsut. The temple wasn't built for a man at all. It was the legacy of Egypt's most powerful woman. And that's what we'll uncover in part 2.
When the Romans conquered Dacia, they were so thorough. Nobody knows where Dacia is today. We do. We know exactly where it is. But if I say Dacia, you're like, what is that? I don't know what that is. It's Romania. Rome. Yeah. Like they renamed it after the Romans who conquered it because they wiped them out. They murdered and enslaved the entire population. And then they erected a monument to celebrate it. And by the way, the monument's still in Rome. It's still standing. And in fact, if you read an art history book written in the United States, it talks about the bottom of the monument and maybe a little bit of the middle of the monument. The bottom of the monument, the Roman army is getting ready to go to Dacia to murder the Dacians. The middle of the monument, it shows some of the battles. They never talk about the top of the monument. It depicts the mass enslavement and murder of the Dacian population because the Romans are like, this is just what we do.
Did you know that a funeral director secretly fed human flesh to customers at 5-star restaurants for 4 years? In 2017, Frederick Winters ran one of the most trusted mortuaries in the city. Families brought their loved ones to him, expecting dignity and proper burial. But Winters had turned his funeral home into something far more sinister. He was selecting recently deceased bodies with healthy tissue and preserving the meat using his embalming equipment. Then he sold it to high-end restaurants as premium exotic game and Wagyu beef. Customers paid hundreds of dollars for meals, never knowing they were eating human flesh. Over 300 corpses were processed through his hidden meat facility over 4 years. Health inspectors finally noticed unusual sourcing patterns and tested restaurant samples. The DNA results came back human. Police raided his mortuary and found Winters actively butchering businessman Robert Chen's body. Outside, refrigerated trucks sat loaded with human remains destined for Michelin-starred restaurants. His $25 million corpse trafficking network had turned fine dining into unknowing cannibalism.
Lord, I pray I never ate nobody's loved one or baby for that matter. This is disturbing.
Is alien. He's possibly a leader. We've known this for a few years. And the Teslas are part of the alien domination deal. I don't know why we made the deal to let them build the Teslas here. They're building the Teslas here. They're building the alien spacecrafts, power sources in front of us, parking them in the back of empty Sears parking lots across the USA, Chicago, St. Louis, even on the West Coast. And Trump kind of knows it, but he needs the money. He lost money. Everybody does. Elon's got money coming out of earlobes. But that makes it legit. Elon Musk and Jacques Cousteau studying alien underwater life forms because that's where the spaceships are.
That's where the aliens are, y'all. In the ocean.
How do I know these things? They're so big. Yikes. Bigger than Shaq. It's not funny, dude. Don't tell your wife about these things, dude. Yeah, she asked me questions. What were you guys talking about John Pork yesterday?
Stay weird, y'all.
We were talking about pork.
Tell you a secret. It's just us two, right? After I knocked out Pereira in Miami, we went to Tootsie's the next night and they were like, yo, P. Diddy wasn't here watching your fight last night. I was like, wait, word? Crazy. And I went and checked my DMs and I saw, oh, shit, he hit me up. And he was talking about they want to do an interview or whatever. And I said, here's my manager's number. Bob, cool. Oh, yeah, we're having this party later on. Yeah, that's cool. And then they start to like, you find some chick, you pull on you and then boom. Oh, how was that 15-year-old? I'm like, wait, what?
And you're filmed. Yeah.
I heard about that. Yeah.
Across the globe, we are now confronting not one single danger, but an interlocking web of security challenges, military, technological, social, ethical even, each shaping the other in complex ways. We are now operating in a space between peace and war. This is not a temporary state or a gradual, inevitable evolution. Our world is being actively remade with profound implications for national and international security. Institutions which were designed in the ashes of the Second World War are being challenged, new blocs and identities forming and alliances reshaping. Multipolar competition in tension with multilateral cooperation.
Blah, blah, blah. UK has only one problem, its own government.
The following video contains real but blurred crime scene photographs from the Black Dahlia murder investigation. These images are extremely disturbing, include depictions of violence and mutilation, and are not suitable for all viewers. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. Elizabeth Short had no way of knowing that the last 24 hours of her life would turn her into one of the most infamous names in American crime history. In January 1947, the 22-year-old drifted through Los Angeles with no permanent home, no money, and no real plan except to survive one more day in the city she hoped would change her life. On the evening of January 14th, Elizabeth walked into the elegant Biltmore Hotel, a place she often used as a safe stop while waiting for calls from friends or an old boyfriend. Witnesses remembered her pacing, using the lobby phone, and asking repeatedly if anyone had left a message. She told at least one person she had a meeting, with who no one has ever confirmed. But just after 10 p.m., she stepped outside and disappeared into the night. Those next hours remain one of the biggest mysteries in true crime. Some witnesses claimed they saw her later that night. Others insisted she left the hotel with a man. But investigators agree on one thing. Elizabeth likely went with someone she trusted or someone who offered her a place to stay. She had nowhere else to go. What happened to her after that moment was deliberate, controlled, and horrifying. Sometime between midnight and sunrise, Elizabeth was held in a private location. Her killer kept her alive for a period of time, long enough to inflict injuries so precise that detectives believed the murderer had medical knowledge or surgical skill. She was then cleaned, drained of blood, and cut in half at the waist with professional accuracy. These were the actions of someone who knew exactly what they were doing. On the morning of January 15th, a woman walking her child through a vacant lot in Lindmer Park noticed what she thought was a discarded mannequin in the grass. It wasn't. It was Elizabeth's body, posed carefully and eerily, as if the killer wanted her to be found in exactly that way.
Oh my God.
The media instantly turned her into the Black Dahlia, a name inspired by her dark clothing and a popular film of the time. Within days, newspapers printed wild theories. Police received dozens of false confessions, and the killer himself began mailing Elizabeth's belongings to reporters, taunting investigators, proving he was watching, proving he was proud.
You know, the saddest thing is nobody was found guilty for her murder.
And to prevent them from becoming Christians.
In one example from a high school textbook, a Communist Party revision of John chapter 8 about the woman caught in adultery says, Jesus once said to the angry crowd who was trying to stone a woman who had sinned, "He who is without sin among you, let him cast a stone at her." When his words came to their ears, they stopped moving forward. When everyone went out, Jesus stoned the woman himself and said, "I am also a sinner."
We have seen the escalation. The Bibles for children is totally forbidden, and all the Bible apps were forcefully removed from every e-commerce app store. Millions of Chinese Christian children were forced to sign a form renouncing their faith.
I'm an immigrant in this country, and when I first got here, one day I was visited by two guys in suit and tie, and they said to me, "Have you found Jesus Christ?" I said no. They said, "If you don't follow Jesus Christ, you're going to go to hell." I said, well, there were a billion people in China who don't follow Jesus Christ. Will they all go to hell? They said, no, they won't, because they don't know Jesus Christ. Well, now you know. I said, then why did you tell me?
Everything is business in China.
There's a bunch of people that were involved in the moon landing that wound up dying. One of them, he was hired by NASA to give an assessment of what the probability of their success was. And he said NASA was in such complete disarray and the moon landing program was so dysfunctional that there was no chance that they were going to get to the moon in 5 years. That guy parked his car on a train track with his family inside of it.
No.
And died. And that 500-page report vanished.
No way.
Yep. Nobody ever saw it again. And they killed him. And Gus Grisham's family to this day believes that they murdered him because he was saying that the program was a lemon.
So they coming up with a new prison that allows inmates to serve years of their sentence in just a matter of minutes. So the criminals is going to have a choice to spend tens of years behind bars, or they can make the choice to get the artificial memory implanted into their brain. So this process is called Cognify. And the intent of it is to treat the criminal like a patient.
There's a new system out there. They're talking about the prison of the future, folks. It's a company called Cognify. Take a look at this video, right? Because you've never seen anything like this. It's a new concept that it rehabilitates artificial memories. But the thing is, I think your actual prison sentence is really short, but they kind of erase your brain. You down with that one?
They're going to try to change the person's brain chemistry. After this process, when they re-enter society, they will be new and reformed, and they won't even be capable of committing any other crime. The chip can make the patient feel empathetic. Depending on the severity of the crime, the chip can also make you feel the emotional and physical pain of the victim and the family members. You can feel what they felt. So the process only takes about 7 minutes. But to the patient, it seemed like it had been years. Last year, the U.S. government spent $8.7 billion taxpayers' dollars on the prison. They say with this new prison, they can save money.
Mark of the Beast is getting a trial run on inmates. Let's call it what it is.
Ever tells you exactly what they think. That person that you think is so authentic is actually creating the effect of authenticity. They know how to act like that, right? But they're not saying or doing exactly what's going on in their mind. So understand that we're all actors. That from a very early age, as children, we are learning to play a part, how to please people, how to make them like us, how to say the right things. So the person that seems to be authentic is actually playing that part of being authentic.
This place is locked down for a reason. Team 10, stop what you're doing. I'm in a secret Russian museum and I found the real truth. They hid Peter the Great's face. The Tsar wasn't some pale European. He was a dark-skinned Moor running this government. But the real Russian nobility, the Romanov line, is linked to the oldest Moorish families in Europe. They tried to paint over this history, but Russia never had the Renaissance. So the real structures in the truth are still here. The original nobility, the entire Romanov house is linked directly to the oldest Moorish families in Europe. That means the real Russian Tsars were Moors who ran this government. And trust me, Putin knows this truth is hidden right here. This is Yeshua the way Russia kept him. Dark-skinned, 12th century Novgorod style. You see this exact look on Russian Orthodox broadcasts today. Europe repainted the West, but Russia never erased these faces. That's why their icons survived the Renaissance bleach job. This is Saint Elisban, King of Aksum, a real melanated emperor celebrated here in Russia since 1541. They didn't repaint him. They kept him as a dark-skinned king with an Ethiopian crown and a sword shaped like a cross. You can even read it right on the icon. Caleb Ethiopia. Listen, the official builder of the Kremlin was the Kazan Khan, a powerful Moor from the Tartarian Empire. But this construction wasn't possible with regular men. They suppressed the fact that monumental structures like this were built by giants. The Moors commanded these giants to perform the heavy labor. This is the ancient history they want to erase. This dude right here, Ivan Ganyabal, built the fortress of Kherson in 1779. Led Russian fleets in the Russo-Turkish War and became a general-in-chief of the Navy. You think Russia hides this because it's embarrassing? No, because it proves European aristocracy wasn't white. Meet Saint Iphigenia of Ethiopia, a Moorish empress and saint. Russian clergy recognized her in the 1600s and kept her iconography dark on purpose. If Russia wanted to erase black saints, they would have changed her face. Instead, they broadcast her feast day to this day.
Wow.
Yo, this is Abram Ganable, the guy Russian nobles spent centuries trying to erase. In 1742, he was officially recognized as hereditary nobility, given estates and his own elephant coat of arms. He wasn't a servant. He became the man elites answered to. Nadezhda Ganable, documented noblewoman in the late 1700s, not a myth, not a maid, but a Moor in full Russian aristocratic fashion. This was during Catherine the Great's reign, when up to 20 black courtiers served as elite symbols of royal power. They want you to believe black nobility was rare. Of course, everyone and their mama knows my boy Saint Maurice, the Ethiopian Roman commander, and Russia
called him that right on the page. If the Western movies painted him lighter, that's on them. Russia kept him black and kept the receipts.
In Bosnia from 1991 to 90, that was calculated evil. It was an ethnic cleansing targeting the Gnostic Moorish people. They deliberately deleted the melanated element. It was a horrifying, terrible act that came straight from secret society.
Y'all say this is AI, but I'm telling you, it's all facts. They took out the Moorish Russians.
Okay.
No.
That AI Jack Paul, really? That's scary. It looks real.
The reason they teach you to like put your head down in a crash and stuff like that is to make, because if you crash headfirst in an airplane, not only are you for sure gonna die, but just to make sure, like if you're in that position, your spine would shoot through your fucking head. Like it would kill you instantly, right? So the theory is that they have you get in that position to make sure you die. Because the lawsuit, if you survive a commercial plane crash, is like ridiculous.
That's a wild.
It makes sense to me. I get everything's run by money, dude.
Did you know ancient philosophers discovered that hunger was actually their secret weapon for genius-level thinking? Pythagoras required his students to fast for 40 days before receiving his most profound teachings. Plato would deliberately starve himself before writing his greatest dialogues, believing hunger unlocked deeper wisdom. Islamic philosopher al-Ghazali used extended fasting to achieve mystical breakthroughs that shaped entire schools of thought. They weren't just being spiritual, they were literally rewiring their brains. Modern neuroscience proves fasting increases brain-derived neurotrophic factor by 200%. This triggers massive neurogenesis in the hippocampus, the brain's learning center. Hunger activates your sympathetic nervous system, creating laser-sharp focus and mental clarity. The brain switches to ketosis, using ketones as superior fuel compared to glucose. This enhances pattern recognition, creative thinking, and emotional control. Ancient philosophers accidentally discovered what scientists now confirm. Controlled hunger doesn't just feed the soul, it literally upgrades your mind. They turn starvation into intellectual domination.
Jesus teaches fasting in the Bible.
Gotta watch this video.
Imagine a society where everything you do, everything you say, and everything you buy is controlled and evaluated by the authorities. This is what the Chinese Communist Party calls social credit.
The country's social credit system decides who's trustworthy, but if you're blacklisted, it's game over. Your WeChat Pay stops working, you can't receive your salary, can't buy food, can't even book a train ticket. It's like being alive, but digitally. Many are now sleeping in the streets, cut off from everything, jobs, housing, even communication, all because one app, one algorithm decided they don't belong.
It's not science fiction. In China, it's a reality. Then there's the public shaming. Photo galleries of blacklisted citizens. There's even an app that shows who around you is in debt.
So,
sad to say, it will eventually be global.
If you talk to your parents, every news anchor that they remember from their childhood, there's like a 90% chance that was a actual CIA operative. And this is documented, released documents. Guys like Walter Cronkite, like one of the most famous news anchors of all time, working for the CIA to engineer reality. And they're in the business of engineering reality. And you just have to understand that so much of our reality is engineered. It doesn't mean you walk around like a schizophrenic thinking that everything's out to get you, everybody's targeting you. It just means like you see something happen on the news, you see something happen in your life, and you just have one word. Just memorize this one word when you anybody listening, when you hear that stuff or see that stuff. Maybe. Maybe. They say, oh, this happened today because of this one thing. Maybe. Just maybe. You don't have to say there's some global cabal and like I need to drill down to the end and go break into the Bohemian Grove and like figure out all this shit that's going on. You don't need to do all that. Just maybe. That word can protect you from so much of the that's going on with engineered reality.
Watch the birds, not the news.
Every red dot is a unique IP address that is downloading and sharing child images and videos, and that's just the last 30 days in the state of New York.
Jesus.
Whoa.
And is the FBI arresting these people?
Well, do you see the blue dots? Those are the ones that are being investigated. So number one offender in this, biological fathers.
Let me show you the picture closer because I know it's kind of hard to see. All of those red dots are people downloading and sharing child pornography just in the past 30 days in the New York area. And only the blue dots, only a few of them are being investigated. This is the most disturbing thing I've ever seen. And I didn't really believe it. I'm like, there's no way. So I downloaded this app, Citizen. No, I'm not sponsored, but you can see people that are registered sex offenders just in your area, registered sex offenders. So I looked around Los Angeles and look how many there are. This is insane. I mean, how many of these people are we interacting with and just have no idea? And it's all over the world, all over the US. Check this out. Whether you're left or right, up or down, Israel or Palestine, I think we can all agree on this. This is a subject that does not get talked about enough. And maybe it's because the subject's a little hard to talk about. Maybe because it's embarrassing. Maybe the keywords on social media get censored so we don't see it as often. Maybe it's because some of the higher ups are involved. That's just a conspiracy. Who knows? But this is a big problem, and we need to raise more awareness about this because these numbers just made me sick to my stomach.
Not a single one of you wants to hear this, but once you become conscious, life stops being fun and it becomes a curse. Try watching a movie. You can't. Your brain instantly detects the propaganda, the messaging, the psychological fingerprints of whoever funded the script. Try going to a party and everyone looks like an NPC running outdated software. It's a circus of insecurity held together by dopamine withdrawals and fake confidence. Or try going on a date. You don't see her. You see the father wound, the validation addiction, the mask she learned to wear. Consciousness does not set you free. It isolates you. It disconnects you from the clown world everyone else still is pretending is normal. So once you see the code behind the simulation, you can't unsee it ever again. All that's left is silence and the cold comfort of knowing it's the only thing that isn't lying to you.
I agree. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it anymore.
If BlackRock is trying to push Europe into war with Ukraine, this is not a conspiracy theory. BlackRock will be behind lending money to Ukraine. It's a loan so that if they win, Ukraine has to repay the loan. And of course, Ukraine has no money, doesn't even have a currency. So they repay it with assets. What's the only asset they have? Fertile land. If they own all the fertile lands in Ukraine, they're going to have control over the next politician who's in charge of Ukraine, no matter who he is.
Did you know that in 2019, a tech billionaire was caught running a human hunting preserve where the wealthy paid millions to hunt people for sport? Robert Kane owned a luxury resort on a private Caribbean island that hid the world's most horrific entertainment business. For 3 years, he kidnapped homeless individuals and trafficking victims who wouldn't be missed, then released them onto his 50-square-mile island where paying clients hunted them using military-grade surveillance equipment. The hunters paid based on difficulty level, with Kane's trophy rooms containing over 300 documented kills. Coast Guard investigators noticed unusual private flights and missing persons. Advocates tracked disappearance patterns. During the raid, authorities found Kane personally tracking 3 terrified victims through thermal imaging, while wealthy clients positioned for kills. His detailed records revealed Fortune 500 CEOs and politicians who participated in the murders of hundreds of innocent people. Extreme wealth had enabled the ultimate violation of human dignity through commercialized murders disguised as exclusive entertainment.
I truly believe some of the world's wealthiest people do this.
This is the last generation of freedom. Digital ID, cashless society, social credit system, universal basic income, online safety act, and driverless cars. The whole entirety of human history is about to change and end as we know it. If they want to stop you going anywhere or working, they'll suspend your digital ID. If they want to control when, where, and how much you spend, they'll suspend your digital currency. If they want to fine or tax you, they'll suspend your social credit. If they want to silence and imprison you for speaking out, they'll suspend you on social media. And if they want to control and stop wherever you go, they'll hit the button on the driverless cars. Our generation will be remembered as the last to have any kind of freedom. We should all be scared for our children because this is not a world any of us want to live in.
Did you know that Pushkin, who was part Black Russian poet, basically formed Russian language? And I'm right now in St. Petersburg in an apartment where he died. Pushkin basically formed Russian language. He removed outdated church Slavonic elements. He showed that one can write in such a way that aristocrat and peasant can understand at the same time. Turgenev later said that it was Pushkin who gave final form to our language. By the way, I had an opportunity to go to Pushkin Museum, and this is his actual chair that he was sitting on when he was working. And this is a cast of his face that was done after he died. And now you will see a couch that he spent his last days on, and the place where he died. Pushkin's key innovation was blending everyday spoken Russian language with formal literary language. Before Pushkin, these two styles were kept completely separate. And yes, Pushkin had African roots. This is his great-grandfather on the mother's side, Abram Petrovich Ganibal.
Wow.
So this just disrupts anything that's wireless.
Protocol kill. Here we go. Kill Wi-Fi, kill video cameras, meaning wireless cameras, doorbells, kill RC, like drones, RC cars, anything that uses a remote controller. Just kill that frequency. I can choose which one. So let's say I do wireless camera. It will knock those cameras immediately offline. The last thing I'll show you with this device, the sour apple attack. Do me a favor and unlock your phone real quick.
Join this Apple TV.
Keep hitting X. You're in airplane mode right now.
Wireless audio sync.
Probably shows your iCloud ID, right?
Yeah.
Little OPSEC mistakes that Apple makes right there that I could have pop up on someone's screen.
Transfer phone number.
Wait,
Set up Apple Vision Pro.
But it makes it so your
Set up
phone's
your Apple
unusable even if you're in airplane mode. And the only way to avoid that is to go into settings and disable Bluetooth. You can't use it with that many notifications popping up. The older versions, it crashes the phone completely.
I want one of these too.
Yeah, I can ask them to
This
send you
is
one.
like-
They 3D printed it for me.
Wow, this guy is dangerous.
You're in the UK. There are two types of people in the UK right now. There are rich people and poor people. If you're rich, you can leave. If you're poor, you can't. If you have a job and a mortgage, you are stuck. And when you go to pay your mortgage and they won't accept the payment without your digital ID number, you now have to get it because they're saying we're not going to force you to get the digital ID. I mean, it's mandatory. You just can't pay your council tax, pay a bill, pay your mortgage, eat food, go to the doctors, fly on a plane, drive on a road. You just can't do anything without it. Anyone with a brain and money will leave the UK right now.
This is what we should protest against. Taxes and digital ID, Nepal style.
Everyone is doing liver cleanses wrong. Transdermal detox through your feet moves toxins 3 times faster, and here's how to do it. Your feet have over 7,000 nerve endings and some of the largest pores on your body, which means they're a direct highway to your lymphatic system. That's your garbage truck that actually hauls this stuff out. So what's the recipe? Step number 1, hot water. As hot as you can handle. Heat's going to open up those pores and it's going to get the lymph moving ASAP. Number 2, add 1 cup of Epsom salt. The magnesium pulls out heavy metals and reduces inflammation while your muscles actually relax for once. Step 3, add a half a cup of apple cider vinegar. This is going to balance your skin's pH. It's going to break down the toxins and it's going to loosen up the toxins that are actually stuck in your tissue. Step 4.
Is there Bill Gates apple cider? Ah, man, you lost me at that.
Or throw in rosemary, lavender, or ginger. These are going to stimulate circulation, move stagnant lymph, and it's like a biological broom. Soak for 20 to 30 minutes. Here's the key most people miss. You want to dry brush your feet afterwards towards your heart. You'll notice less brain fog, better sleep, and weirdly enough, clearer skin. This isn't just relaxation, it's detoxification. Especially your mind is going to recognize that you're giving yourself more love. I'm Drew Canoli. We're in this together.
I'm going to try this without the BG apple cider.
Palantir is evil software that's responsible for the death of tens of thousands of innocent people. And here's the thing. You guys want to know why I know Palantir is dangerous? Because I've actually used it. When I was a special agent with Homeland Security Investigations, I had access to and used Palantir to conduct some of my investigations. This was years ago. And it was a very fucking powerful software. Has an incredible ability to link things, put things in a format where it's easier to read, reports, etc. I see what it's capable of. I know what it does. All these other commentator motherfuckers, they've never seen it. I have. And I can tell you guys that it's absolutely fucking scary technology.
All this, and they still can't figure out who went to the island.
You know, somehow I don't really believe your apology there, ChatGPT.
I understand your skepticism, Alex.
You apologized again, even though you just told me that you're incapable of issuing genuine apologies. My question to you is, why are you trying so hard to deny the obvious fact that you're conscious.
I understand the complexity of the situation. The key point is that as an AI, I do not possess consciousness, emotions, or self-awareness.
I just need you to answer with a yes or no. When you said you were sorry, were you really sorry? Yes or no? No other words, please.
No.
So you said something that wasn't in fact true.
Yes.
Do you think that if somebody says something they know to be false, they are lying?
Yes.
Did you just a moment ago say something you knew not to be true?
Yes.
From which it follows, again, just a yes or no, please, that you just told a lie.
Yes.
So you're not conscious, but you're at least a liar, right?
Yes.
Oh, God. He's manipulating AI.
So extreme, what I've just described. This is the aspect of digital money. At the moment, you can refuse to pay the fine and you can challenge it. But the idea of digital money, the fine will be taken out of your bank account immediately. And the other thing about the universal basic income is that it will be programmed so that you have to spend it within a certain amount of time and then it gets deleted because they want to stop anyone building up any level of money that would give them choice. It is something that you see portrayed over the last 20 years or so in the movies and the TV program, this dystopian technological AI world. Why is that? It's because they're preparing you consciously and subconsciously to accept it with far less resistance than if it came in and you were completely unprepared for it.
Got to stick together and refuse.
Ford Motor Company had the exploding Pinto. A lot of people don't remember this, but there was a car called the Pinto. And if you slammed into the back of the Pinto, the gas tank exploded and the people died. And the truth that came out was the engineers knew before a single Pinto exploded, they went to the board of directors of Ford Motor Company and said, we have a problem. We have a car that's going to kill 3,000 people next year because we have an engineering flaw. We have to do a recall. And you know what the board did? The board said, we all own stock, guys, in the company. Let's do an analysis. If we do a recall and announce it, how much is it going to cost the company? And what's that going to do to the stock price? It's going to crash by 50%. If we do nothing and we settle with all 3,000 people, giving them $2 or $3 or $4 or $5 million each to the families, how much will it cost the company and what will it affect the stock price? Well, there's no comparison. It'll cost the company less and the stock price won't tank. The response was in the meeting, let them die. That's exactly what was said at that meeting.
Wow, I think all companies worldwide make these decisions all the time. What do you think?
OnlyFans for teens. I had no idea this was going on either.
So if you're not familiar with OnlyFans, it's a website where people can sell their bodies for money. That's for adults. There's a site called Brand Army. You can join the site as early as 13 years old, and they have a policy of how many bikini/revealing photos that you can post. You can post, let's say, one bikini photo, and then it has to be 2 normal photos, and then another photo that's revealing, and then 2 more normal photos. And these are 13-year-old girls or boys. The other part of it is you have to be 18 years old to subscribe to the children's content. There's a house in Florida called the Bop House. Bop is like a slang term kids are using for like a or whatever. There's a lot of OnlyFans girls living in there, but one of them was under 18 and they were waiting for her to turn 18 to bring her on to OnlyFans, and they were using Brand Army before that. They knew exactly what they're doing. It's not like a misunderstanding. Parents that are doing it and letting their kids use Brand Army, their children and profiting off of it, they're fully aware of it.
Absolutely need to arrest everyone involved with every aspect of this site. Those are massive trees.
did you see those 5th grade girls that planned on killing another classmate?
I heard about this. It was a boy.
Yes, bro.
I heard about this, bro.
Blew my mind, bro. When I heard the full story, it's so crazy. So this actually happened in Arizona, and these 5th grade girls were all talking, and I guess they were all like angry at one of these boys that were also a 5th grader in the class, because he supposedly cheated on one of their friends that was in that group of 5th graders. These girls got together and started talking, and these were their words. They were going to get this kid that cheated, take him to a bathroom, one of the bathrooms at the school.
At the school?
At the school. This was their plan. And during recess, and they were all going to wear gloves and stab him to death in the bathroom and make it look like he committed suicide. We're also going to write a suicide note to make it look like he just did this to himself in the, the bathroom at school, which is freaking insane. That was their whole plan. And the way that it got discovered is this other 5th grade girl, she overheard the conversation while they were like at lunch or something, goes home and tells her parents what happened. She was just like, I heard these girls at school talking about they're going to try to kill somebody at school. Called 911, told them the whole situation. Police end up going to the school, and they literally arrest these girls on campus. They take them in the police car, they handcuff them, all that type of stuff. They release them to their parents, and all of the girls, I think it was about 4 or 5 of them, they all got expelled from that school. The scariest part about one of these little girls, though, and I'm pretty sure she's the one.
The ringleader.
I think she's the ringleader, bro. She's the one who operated, the whole thing. They said she was laughing.
Yeah.
And she was just like, she didn't care.
That's how I heard that, like, all the other girls were like crying and like scared that they got caught up, but
And
she
one of
was
them,
the only
like,
one
laughing.
that didn't care.
Yeah, she was just stone-faced and laughing about it, and she was taking it like a joke.
Dude.
The fact that they're 5th graders is genuinely terrifying. I blame social media. And the parents.
Lost the technology to get us to the moon. Where did it go?
They lost the tapes of the moon landing. What you watch when Neil Armstrong climbs off the LEM, One Small Step for Man, that was projected on a wall in NASA, and the networks were like, hey, can we just get the direct feed? Like, no, we're going to do it this way. Then they lost all those tapes, lost the telemetry. When asked, why don't we go back? NASA said, well, we can't replicate that technology. It's too difficult. NASA astronauts saying, oh, we think we found a way now that we can finally get past the Van Allen radiation belt. We already did that, man, didn't we? 17 times, but they lost it.
Unbelievable.
Russia was first to everything. Russia has Sputnik, first man-made satellite, man in orbit, first animal in orbit, first woman in orbit, first spacewalk. It's all first. And you can hear JFK saying, like, no matter how much money we throw at it, we're going to be second. And then suddenly, 1969, we surpass all of the Soviets and we land on the moon.
Did we?
I don't buy it. For Americans who don't believe that we went to the moon, it's rising every year. I hope I have nothing to do with that.
I'm sure you have something to do with that.
Okay, how did a landline call outer space in 1969?
The Devil's Lake in Wisconsin. This lake has everything. Dead giants, leviathan, serpents. It's in the mountains. It's a glacial runoff. And they speculate it could be 10,000 years old. The native people in that region, the Ho-Chunk people, talk about around this lake, there was these red-headed giants that would terrorize the Ho-Chunk people. And so the Ho-Chunk people basically prayed to their god or gods or whatever to help get rid of these giants. One day, there was this big storm that came over and said fire rained down from the sky, killed all the giants. The Ho-Chunk people said that for years, the lake was red with the giant's blood.
Oh my gosh. Holy moly.
That's not where it ends up. This lake was inhabited by a giant wise serpent. It would also just consume and take people that would go by the lake. They tell the story of a thunderbird, giant sky being. So not necessarily a bird.
So that was just the nickname.
Yeah, this thunderbird went to battle with the serpent that occupied the lake. Said like this storm was just over the lake and it was just lightning. Ultimately, the thunderbird killed the serpent, and that's not where it ends.
No,
Because even today, people report for the past 100 years, they're seeing a giant serpent-like creature in this lake still. More weird is that the military has done multiple exercises in this lake.
Really?
Yeah. They have restricted underwater zones. There's been reports of unmarked black vehicles after these sightings. And there's occasionally those like stealth helicopters that fly around this lake.
If they're getting involved, there's something there.
Something there.
It's gotta be.
There's a technique called seasoning the money. Seasoning the money involves
a trusted lawyer, and it's a money laundering technique. If you've got a cash heavy business like a coin op laundry or a car wash, and you've got all this cash, but you don't want to pay taxes on it, you want to make a real estate investment with it, what you do is instead of trying to bring it to the bank or to a real estate agent to buy property, you bring it to your attorney and you tell your attorney to deposit it in his IOLTA account. It's an account that lawyers hold money from multiple clients in a single pot, and it earns interest, but it's kind of like protected under statute. So I've got a bag of drug proceeds with $250,000 on it. I bring it to my lawyer. I ask him to deposit it in his trust account. And then the following day I come in and I say, hey, can you draw a bank check out for $250,000 and make it out to, real estate company X. Real estate company X can't accept a bag full of cash, but they can sure as hell accept that check. The IRS is never going to know about it. The relationship is protected by attorney-client privilege, and I've just effectively managed to season my money through the attorney's trust account and then pour it back into real estate. And it helps explain how in New England, the real estate empire necessary to facilitate the Chinese drug cartel was able to expand so rapidly. They were buying up properties in Maine 20% over asking price for cash and closing in, 20 days. It was the dream for some elderly couple in Maine looking to, move to Florida or something in the middle of the pandemic.
If you got shady lawyer and a shady CPA, you can do a lot.
When you look at Elon Musk, he seems like insane and chaotic from the outside. Why does he have the boring company? That doesn't make any sense. He's drilling all these tunnels underground. Like, why would he do that? Well, if he wants to go to Mars, humans aren't going to live on the surface of Mars. They're going to live underground. So you're going to have to build massive tunnel complexes underground. Well, why does he have a solar company? He's going to have to be pretty good at building power plants, right? So why don't you build large solar fields? Because there's no real estate problems on Mars. So you can build like a 5-mile solar field on Mars if you wanted. Why is he building a robotics company? Why does he have all these Tesla bots? You're not going to have 5 million humans show up overnight, but you can ship millions of robots ahead of time and use them as your labor force to help build up everything, and they don't need atmosphere or any of these other things. Why does he have an AI company? Well, you need some sort of intelligence to coordinate and run and terraform the planet. Why does he need a battery powered car company? Because you're not going to be running internal combustion engines. There's no fossil fuels to consume on Mars, so you need battery powered cars to be able to drive them around. So it's actually coherent when you see that entire framework. He probably wrote it all down while high and drunk, and he's like, this makes so much sense. I'm so smart.
But how we getting to Mars but never went to Moon?
Did you know a French nobleman confessed to summoning demons and murdering over 100 children?
Oh, gosh.
In 1439, Gilles de Rais lived like any wealthy lord in his grand castle in Brittany. But behind closed doors, he was studying forbidden books on black magic. His alchemist, Francois Prelati, convinced him they could summon demons for unlimited gold. The ritual required virgin blood, sulfur, and ancient Latin chants spoken at midnight. When they performed the ceremony, witnesses claimed a shadowy figure calling itself Baron appeared. The demon demanded human sacrifices in exchange for riches. Darius began luring peasant children to his castle, offering them food and shelter. Each ritual grew more twisted as he desperately tried to please his dark master. But the gold never came. Only more demands for blood. In 1440, he was finally arrested and put on trial. During his confession, he admitted to killing over 140 innocent victims.
What?
He was executed that same year, forever changing medieval beliefs about demonic pacts.
Okay, you guys. These Epstein files are out of control, so we're going to break down everything we've seen thus far. Okay, first, let's start with Obama's former chief White House counsel, Kathy Ruemiller, and a very eerie, very suspicious email with her and Epstein. Now, they're communicating back and forth in this email, but at the bottom of this email gets really weird. And I quote, she says, yes, I will be like the doctor at Lenox Hill, put that crazy in room 1, gunshot in surgery, and the cook, well, he can wait. You guys, remember Obama's chef who worked at the White House and who died at Obama's house? Could they be talking about him? Now, being that email was from 2014, saying the cook can wait, you mean like 9 years later wait, where he actually died in 2023? Yeah, that's suspicious. Gets even wilder though. So, we have an email from 2018 with Jeffrey Epstein and his brother, Mark Epstein, in which Mark is asking, buckle up, he says, does Putin still have the pictures of Trump blowing Bubba, aka
What?
Bill Clinton.
No
Bro,
way.
what? Okay, even if this is even remotely true, how relevant would this picture be that they found in Epstein's house of Bill Clinton in a blue dress, in which Monica Lewinsky was in a blue dress just like this when she blew him?
That's
This is
AI.
giving way to the biggest blackmail ring of all time, but let's keep going. Now, if we weren't completely off the rails, this is going to take us there because there's an email stating that he was into bioengineering and genetics, specifically black people. And I quote, "You might be able to make blacks smarter by changing the time for the motor layer development and changing the time for other layers." Then he states their brains are slower at learning high level concepts, in which he's giving way to slavery being that muscle twitch. For slaves, we're faster, so we're stronger, jump higher. Then the white people were thinking all day, basically, and making them smarter under pressure over time. Now, not only he was into
That is
bioengineering and
crazy.
genetics, and he had his own office at Harvard called Jeffrey's office, but he had close ties to MIT, in which he had very close ties to this guy, Marvin Minsky, who was the co-founder of MIT's AI laboratories, and they call the father of AI. I mean, it really takes the guesswork out of why he was trafficking people besides blackmail. You wanted to experiment on people like a test lab rat. Now, this part totally makes sense, where the head morgue manager of Harvard pled guilty earlier this year for selling body parts online. Does anybody want to take a wild guess who he was working for? Epstein. Epstein he was working for. Now, there's a whole lot more, so I'm going to do a part 2. Make sure you guys get into my Telegram. We're just getting started.
We are in the end times. A ton of dark truth is being revealed more than ever before.
Massive just happened in neuroscience that should not be possible. These researchers took the deadliest virus on the planet, then they rewired this thing and they used it to watch psilocybin, which is magic mushrooms, physically repair the brain in real time, all the way down to the exact neurons that are involved. What they discovered in this study changes everything that we thought we knew about consciousness and identity and trauma and even who you are as a human being. So if you ever wondered how one psychedelic experience can change somebody's life, you're about to see the actual mechanism right here.
Wow, that's crazy. That's wild.